Hello and welcome to Wingin It. So this is the third and final part of my engine building series, where I look at building strong engines in each of the three habitats in Wingspan. So we've already looked at both the forest and the grasslands, and today we're looking at the final habitat, which is the wetlands. So this is probably the most unconventional habitat to build an engine in, and it was certainly the one that really took the longest for me to get an understanding of and really be able to appreciate the strength of a wetland engine. But as you'll see in this video, if you get the right cards and you're able to get a good flow going in the wetlands, then you can unlock a really high score very easily. The real key to having a strong wetlands engine is getting locked tucked cards. So you'll see the bush tit that I've got in my starting hand is kind of the one of the stars of the show, certainly in this kind of tucking engine, because you get 2 points every activation. So you get one for the tuck card, and then also you get the egg as well. And there's really not many birds that can generate 2 points like that just on their own. Normally the problem with the bush tit is struggling for enough cards to tuck under it. But as you'll see in a wetland engine like this, where you're basically drawing cards every turn, you're not going to be short on cards, and you're going to be tucking constantly under that bush tit, and you're going to get a lot of points at the end of the game. So the other real key to having a strong wetland engine like this is having a food source. So I managed to get the Phoebe in my starting hand, which is certainly a strong option. But there are a few different ones, so you could also go for a hummingbird. The crows work equally well as long as you can get enough eggs from tucking birds such as the bush tit. Or even the common raven can go in the wetlands. So if you're fortunate enough to get that, and as I say, get enough of an egg supply from these tucking birds, then absolutely that's a really strong option. But the Phoebe works nicely here. It's only worms that I'm getting from the Phoebe, which can be quite limiting. But if you're able to add a second food source to that, then suddenly you're able to unlock so many more options. But as I said, really, the key to getting a strong wetland engine is just being able to get lots of tuck cards. So certainly in this early round, especially with a card like the bush tit, where you've got those 5 egg spaces. I can just spend 5 turns drawing cards. I'm going to look at 10 cards, and the more cards you're looking at early in the game, the more chances of getting something good. So you'll see I got quite fortunate in this one, where my opponent played the hummingbird. So that's a card I would have quite liked myself, but actually, if they're going to activate it every so often and just give me that chance for some extra food, not only is it extra food, but actually it gives me a chance to diversify my food a bit. So you'll see there, I took a rodent from the tray, even though I don't have anything at the moment that needs a rodent, but down the line I might need something that eats rodents, and there's no point taking grubs because from my Phoebe I'm going to get so many grubs. So you'll see again there, I went for the reroll and took a cherry. So yeah, just trying to get as much different food as I can at this point. So you'll see another good strength of the bush tit in a situation like this is the end of round goals. So particularly these 4 end of round goals, I think they set up quite nicely for a wetland engine like this. Particularly those first 2, those 5 nest spaces on the star nest for the bush tit. They're just so strong. So yeah, it gives me lots of options for winning those end of round goals. And you'll see in the tray for round 2 we have the purple martin. So straight away I've got my eyes on that. It is a bit unfortunate in that my egg spaces on the bush tit are already filled up, and that's certainly something that you have to be careful and watch out for when you are going for a tucking engine like this. But the martin in particular was one I wanted to pick up just for those extra tucks. But actually the cowbird as well is a really strong card. I've got lots of egg spaces on the Phoebe, and any other birds that I might look to play throughout the rest of this game. I can try and prioritise those bowl nests, and worked out quite nicely here with the sparrow as well. So you might have seen that I took the prairie manager bonus card. So those 2 birds already, that's 6 points down after the egg cost, and another 3 from the prairie manager. So it's 9 points, and the cowbird's going to get me eggs, for the rest of the game, as it has already done so there. So yeah, that's a really strong option for me. And then I can just add the purple marten on top of that. So now I'm getting 3 points a turn, and just that ability to cycle through more cards as well is so strong. So yeah, you see more free food from the hummingbird from my opponent, so really I can try and make the most of that. And yeah, I've already got some birds in my hand, as well as the coot that I just draw there, that are going to need that seed from the feeder. So yeah, certainly I can now look to get that coot down, and as well the Bellsbury that I just picked up, that's exactly the kind of card I'm looking for here. I'm going to have so many worms from the Phoebe that I'm going to need to spend on getting birds down. And the star nest as well for the Vireo. It's good for the cowbird, it's good for the end of round goal, and it's going to potentially help with any bonus cards that I draw, particularly playing the Vireo. So yeah, some really strong turns, particularly at the start of this round 2. And once I've got that coot down, that's 4 points a turn. It's getting me cards, it's getting me eggs, and it's getting me food, and that's all you need in this game. As soon as you can set up an engine that can get you all 3 of those, as we've seen in the other parts of this series, you can just run that engine for a number of turns until you get the cards that you want to look to play, and then you can get those cards down. So once again, another turn drawing a tucking bird. This time it's the barn swallow, and again, it's another star nest, so it's going to help the cowbird. But I'm just thinking of it as another point per turn, so it might look like a bit of a weak bird to play at this point in the game. It's only 1 point on its own. And I'm having to pay 2 eggs to play it, so it's effectively a negative 1 point turn. But I'm going to be running this wetland engine pretty much for the rest of this game. I'm just going to be drawing cards or playing birds, so I know I'm going to be getting enough tuck cards from that to make it worth playing. And again, with those other tucking birds, it's just that ability to cycle through. I'm going to see more cards, I'm going to be able to find the cards that I want to play quicker, and you can't overestimate that power in Wingspan just to see lots of cards. So at this point my engine's pretty much done. You'll see I've filled up those 5 spaces in the wetlands. So really at this point it's just cycle through the cards, get food from the Phoebe, maybe get the occasional egg from the cowbird as well, but really I'm just cycling through cards until the bush tit's full of eggs, because that's always the key point in an engine like this, is you need to plan around when you're going to fill up on eggs on the bush tit, because I want to maximise the number of points I'm getting. I don't want to be leaving spare eggs on the bush tit. A great way to use up those eggs is with cards like the Vireo. So as soon as I saw that in the tray, I definitely wanted to go for that, because again, it eats grubs, so the Phoebe's going to be paying for that easily. That's not going to be a problem to get down at all. And the more of these double birds that you're able to get down, you'll see I've got a couple of others already in my hand that I'm looking at. I can play those all in one turn. I can completely clear off all the egg spaces on the bush tit, and then that just lets me tuck more cards again. So yeah, another strong pickup there in the warbler, and then another double bird as well. So at this point I think I've already got 3 or 4 of those double birds, and they all eat grubs along with the warbler that I just picked up. So yeah, I'm in absolute dreamland with all these amazing cards I'm picking up. That I can get down so easily just after a few turns. And I'm scoring 5 points a turn just from running this wetland engine, and it's giving me the food to play all these big point birds. So yeah, you'll see this is just such a strong position to be in. I can just keep cycling through this. You see I fill up on the eggs on the bush tit this turn, but it's fine because I've got so much food. I want to be playing birds in that grasslands for this end of round goal anyway, and certainly I've got a couple in my hand in the warbler and the Vireo that I'm going to look to get down. So yeah, you kind of get 2 benefits in one here. So I'm able to clear that egg space from the bush tit, I'm able to help win this end of round goal, but you'll see there I also get a really nice bonus card in the Food Web Expert. So already got 3 of those down, plus the warbler in my hand, which I was already looking to play because it's just going to get me so many points and help clear out those egg spaces that, yeah, that was kind of the perfect bonus card for me to draw there, really. And yeah, I can get this warbler down. That's going to be 8 points with the bonus card after the eggs. It's going to help me with this end of round goal. And yeah, it's just clearing more spaces off that bush tit. Helps me run that wetland engine for more turns in the final round. and then really I can look to maybe play some forest birds. You know, I've got all of these double birds that are so easy to get down once I've got the grubs from the Phoebe, that really, you know, I don't have too much decision making at this point. It's just cycling through the deck. Maybe I get something better. Certainly one thing I would say when you're in a position like this is put off your decisions to the last possible moment. You know, if you have got spaces on that bush tip, like I do here, you want to keep drawing cards. You know, there's no point rushing into playing birds now. I'd much rather draw cards for a few turns, cycle through the deck. You know, maybe I get something better. You know, maybe I get another warbler that's going to help meet the food web expert and use up more of those grubs. So absolutely, there's no point me playing birds here. I'm going to cycle through and I'll get something like the house wren. So again, another one of those double birds, but this one's even better because it meets the food web expert. So some of the other birds I've got in there are only worth 2 points, but you know, now that house wren is a 3-point bird, and yeah, that's just going to be so strong for me. Again, just eating the grubs from the Phoebe. So you know, if I had already played birds and then later drawn the house wren, it would have been too late. I'd have already, you know, filled up all those spaces in the forest. So yeah, absolutely always worth, you know, drawing as many cards or spending as many turns drawing cards, cycling through the deck as you can, and just put that playing cards decision off to the last possible moment, really. So you see, with a few turns left, again, like with the rest of this round, not really too much thinking to do, just again cycle through the deck, just see if anything better comes up. But even if it doesn't, I've just scored 5 points and got the last grub I needed. I can look to play birds on this last turn. It's going to completely clear all those egg spaces off the bush tip and just allow me to, you know, run that engine one final time on that last turn and score another 5 points. So yeah, this penultimate turn is kind of the one that I've been building up to, really for the last couple of rounds. You know, with all these double birds I've been picking up, you know, trying to save them for the right moment. And this is just such a lovely combo. You know, anytime you can do this in a game, you know, get 5 birds down on a single turn. You know, I easily had the food for that. It's gonna help with the bonus cards with the house wren, and you know, I'm gonna look to get another bonus card as well from the woodpecker that I play alongside this. So it's absolutely, you know, just keeping my options open in terms of the bonus cards. You know, if I get a nest one, it's going to help. If I get the forester or something like that, it's going to be strong. So yep, get the woodpecker down, and it's an absolutely dream bonus card. Bird counter is exactly what you're looking for when you're running an engine like this. I'd say there's 2 perfect bonus cards for a wetland engine like this, the bird counter being one, and the visionary leader being the other. Ordinarily, visionary leader is an absolutely terrible bonus card. You know, you don't want to be left with cards at the end of the game. It just feels like a waste. But it's kind of a direct result of running a wetland engine like this. You see, I've got so many cards left in my hand. You know, if I do have the visionary leader, that's a free 7 points. But yeah, I can't complain at all about getting the bird counter there. So as the scores count up, you kind of get an idea of the typical sort of breakdown. So not a huge amount of bird points here. I did get a few big point birds down, but they were mostly smaller point birds for those tucking points. I did get some nice bonus cards, and I was very strong on the end of round goals. Not a whole lot of eggs, but you know, this is really where the points come from in a wetland engine like this. Those tucks are just going to keep counting up, and 137 is a very nice score. And yeah, 43 tuck cards, you know, that's a really solid total, and always happy to see, you know, a board and a score like that. So yeah, just one last look at my bonus cards. You know, the food web expert and the bird counter in particular, really nice ones to draw. So I definitely lucked out there. But you know, I was able to maximise on that just purely from the strength of my engine and being able to cycle through lots of cards. So yep, hopefully that was informative. If you haven't seen the first 2 parts of my series, I recommend checking it out. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.